And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live here at Citizen Television. We're talking about the floods and the way forward with Cabinet Secretary for East African Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development, Benina Malonza, and Dr. Isaac Kalua Green from Green Africa, environmentalist, entrepreneur, climate change activist. Let's go straight to the magic wall. What do you say? And get some reactions from folks around the country, around the region, and around the world. Tweets coming in very thick and very fast. Moshida Walter says, kindly ask Malonza to elaborate her statement that someone has been marooned in Machakos, and she says a chopper will be sent tomorrow. Does the word emergency apply here? He thinks that chopper will be too little, too late.
Basically, we are already pursuing other modalities of saving the man. And actually, I've just spoken to CS Moses Kuria, who had already sent a team down there.
But you spoke to him while you were sitting there?
No. Oh, before I came in.
Okay.
At that time, I got the call. But the situation is that because we were about to send a boat, but we were told that the boat cannot rescue him at that point. He needed, because he's on top of a tree, at some point he was climbing a tree. So they told us they needed a chopper. Looking at our choppers in the country, they can only, move during the day, except a few in the country that have lighting. So basically, that is why I'm talking of a chopper going tomorrow. And of course, we are already pursuing the other alternatives of trying to rescue him. But basically, if we cannot make it by morning, then of course a chopper has to move. And that's why the AG has worked from, because I got the report actually at 1746. That's when we got the location and everything. And we kept on calling, where is the location? Because we really wanted to do our best before the sunset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Next one, Bore Collins says, ask Waziri whether she would advise that schools remain closed till we are sure our students will be safe. Secondly, shouldn't the government declare the floods a national disaster and allow the international organizations to assist? It seems like the government isn't doing enough. First of all, schools, what do you think, Waziri? Should they be extended?
Well, basically, what we are hearing from the weatherman is that the rains are going to subside, and we are hoping that, if they are going to subside, then it will be okay. We're giving ourselves these few days until Monday, and we will be watching and, trying to see what we can do. And when that time comes, if we see that the rains are still on, then we will make a decision at that time. We are careful as a government, and we don't want to lose our children. And I can tell you that is where we are together with our parents. So we are resonating and also watching to see how the rains will perform within these 6 days.
Dr. Ari, let me ask you this. Should the floods be declared a national disaster right now?
Long time ago.
Long time ago. Good. Babu Michael says, ask C.S. Malonza. At the time the meteorological department predicted kind of El Nino, or rather rains, have above normal levels, what plans did the government put in place to collect this water and make good use of it later, on most so in the arid and semi-arid areas? Because we knew the rains were coming, right? We knew.
Let me tell the Kenyans that we need to separate the Ninos from the long rains, because the El Ninos were running from November all the way to January, and there was a dry spell. And what we got, of course, we got it in, we got the announcement in Feb. That's when we got the announcement. And there was very little. You cannot start a water pan at that point. So the best was to prepare ourselves as a country in terms of mitigating the effects. And I think that is what we've done as a government. So basically, we didn't know the intent was to be this much, because even when you look at the milliliters that were mentioned by the meteorological department, some going to 100, at times we get that and there's no much damage. And so I believe the government was quite prepared in terms of the time that we had between the time we got the alert and the time that the rains began. And actually, if I may say also, there was a new design with these rains because with the El Ninos, they began in the northern part of Kenya. This time, the rains began in the western part of the country. And so that was another new dimension that actually we were not aware of because the El Ninos, we knew they were starting from the northeastern and going to coast, and then finally they went to Rift Valley and western part of the country. But this time, they began on the other side of western country.
Right. Next one. Orutwasam says, today we're in a dilemma because we aren't prepared on how to handle floods. My point is, how much is the government doing through the CS to enlighten people on how to conduct themselves to save lives? Because the causes of deaths is ignorance.
There's a lot that the government has begun doing, of course, starting with the president himself and the press and the media presses that have been done by the government spokesperson, but also the alerts that are coming from the Minister of Interior. I know Kidiki has already released one 2 days ago, and I believe we are also, that's why I'm here today also to sensitize and let the people know what we are doing. And of course, you had more comment yesterday, and we'll continue. My PS was already here, but of course, we are doing more also in terms of sensitizing through other media, radio stations, and all that. And also the counties are at a speed of also creating this awareness because, as I said, disaster is actually a shared function between the national government and the county government. So I was in Nakuru County and I heard Susan talking about the alerts that they've been giving their own, people in Nakuru County. So I believe also the counties are doing all the best they can. And as we combine and synergize, I believe that but also our people need also to be attentive to this, awareness that we are creating because we're saying that please do not adventure with water. It's not good at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Frank Orinde says, floods have once again exposed government's lack of disaster preparedness. It is sad that the same government downplayed expertise advice from its own scientists, the meteorological department. The president should declare floods a national disaster, pull resources together to mitigate the situation. Sir Nixon Ndugira says, dear disaster management team, you need to inspect all water dams built across the country. We weren't expecting a repeat of Solai Dam break so soon. Be proactive before we start reacting after more such disasters. And Katebiske says, the truth is, we lack mitigation measures for the calamities that befall us every year. The Met Department alerted us early enough, but we chose to wait and see. Nature is unforgiving. We need lasting solutions. All right. I have a message here from one of my classmates. You may know him. His name is Joe Kithiaka. I went to school with him.
Yes.
And he says he's loving the conversation. He says this discussion is very rich, is great, but it needs to move to the next level, which is from theory to urgent positive actions, so as to avoid such sad and unfortunate flood disaster deaths. You agree, Dr. Ari?
Yes, Joe is a great guy. He's always very focused. And let me say a few things. When you listen to Kenyans, they really have this passionate in their heart. The reason why I mentioned my lunch discussion with His Excellency the President, is not anything else but to show the 600,000 Kenya shillings he's paying is not for his house, for his food. It is for chicken that he is producing for the market. President, producing chicken, working towards renewable energy to make sure that there is sustainability. What does that do at the individual level? He has inspired the community around him to get into the business of poultry because they see by their own eyes the millions of eggs that come from their own home surrounding. And therefore they're inspired, they're going to do that. Even if they will produce 200 crates, vis-a-vis a million, they will be doing something positive, inspired by the leadership. I was speaking to my very good friend, the CS that I hold in very high esteem. She has developed her area in a very good way. She has more than 50 tanks that she has established in her own compound for water harvesting. What she now needs is to speak to the neighbors. This is how you can make money to produce and buy a tank. It will always remain a water tower that people on an ivory tower that you can't reach. They imagine that the only way is to get to a position, or my child get into a position, or get corrupt to get this kind of a thing. Yet that is not the idea. Show people how they can make money at their own homesteads. People are in this city full, not knowing what they can ever do. If the minister, and this is why I am trying to convince her, to convince the boss and other people, when you send the minister to go and supervise things in a different county, you lack the opportunity of letting your very own people know, I am doing this normal, but I am doing this extra because I'm part of the government that you elected me to be part of, and therefore this comes to you because of this. And you can visit through exchanges, through other colleagues, to say that today I'm accompanied by this person. But the people feel the power there. The county government, the projects, make sure they are not left for the MCAs and the other leaders. Communities involved. We have a 3 million Kenya shillings small project. Part of this can be done by the locals, and the locals are in this association. They will get associated to this kind of a product. This is the way. Show people how to conserve the environment or to take care of this. They will never go there. But show them how to make money. They will go in that direction, Jeff. Where do you take your products? Where do you take your trees? What do you do with water? Can the government supply some water pumps that can be able to help people to do that? How do you do sand dams? Can they be done by a community, by digging, and you get money out of these processes? How do you make sure that the roads that are being made are good enough for the community, and therefore you are supposed to participate in this process and make sure that the levels and everything else, there is local and indigenous information that is so helpful to even professions and institutions that are doing and undertaking projects. Can we stop using this kind of tarmac and use water that can percolate in this space? Because this that you're passing here, actually, even if you deny, there is a time in 1960 that space really overflooded at that time. Water, just like an elephant, where it passes, even if it's 30 years, it will come to pass there. That is why we are having this problem. And remember, we are talking...
A river doesn't forget its course.
Yes, we are talking about people. The danger that is in our wildlife is mind-boggling. You talk to any of those KWS rangers, the number of animals that are dying because of drought, that within the last 10 years we have lost 70% of our wildlife. Yet we are bragging as a nation that is definitely dealing with matters of tourism as a serious income generation. We are talking of animal and human conflict in areas that we are not doing anything to sustain. And animals need food, they need trees, they need a lot of things. Instead of thinking widely and out of the box, that we need to create such a huge dam in some of these areas that people can now relocate from the 20% as we get today. We are talking of President Ruto having 57 Kenyans. He is not leading the same country that Moi led. No, it's a totally different country.
Absolutely. Madam CS,
yes,
I'm going to give you the last word here because this conversation can go on and on and on.
It's such a sweet conversation.
Very good. Great.
I really agree, but there's a lot that is being done. And actually talking about the wildlife and the tourism, I've been a minister in that space. So I know the plans that we have already laid down. And I was on this bench talking about addressing the root causes and creating livelihoods to those people who are next to the national parks and all that. And the conservation, that the regeneration that we are doing within the space policies of the national parks. And you've said it very clearly. This country began in the hands of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. It went to the hands of Moi. It's not Ruto who was ruling at that point. He's just coming. He's only 1 year old in the government, and we have already done the plans, and we are ready to execute these plans. So I believe that we can be fair to this government if we can give them time to execute. And if they don't, then within 3 years, as far as I know about development, that you need only 3 years to show, what you've been doing within that course of time. Believe like we need some instant coffee on the table. But I can assure my brother that we are doing quite a lot in that space. And let me not talk a lot about that. Even on the other area, we're doing a lot. But I must talk about culture, because he has gone a lot by saying that the ministers need to go to their own counties. First, I don't agree with that.
Well, it's
because that will be localizing me to look like I'm a minister of Kitui. Yes, I'm a minister of the entire country, and probably I can be tempted to pull in more resources, and create a lot of imbalance within the country. And it's just like teachers, and it's just like everyone, nurses, they're not working in their communities, So I believe that we can do better, because personally, even when I work across the country, I have that passion to build my own community. And I want to state this very clearly, because I was also the Minister for Culture and Heritage some time back. And it's all within the culture and socialization, because our Constitution, Article 11, talks about the culture being the backbone or the foundation of the civilization and development of this nation. It all begins with our socialization. It's all in the culture. Because as we talk about the president who has been doing a lot of chicken rearing, I can tell you there could be even a neighbor who is not doing it, because they are not socialized that way. So for me, I know the solution that we can embrace is actually going back to our roots and encouraging all the Kenyans to be, aggressive and, hardworking. And I believe these are facets that we can address within the culture. The issue of corruption, again, is an issue that we can miss very quickly if we don't go back to the culture, and we need to address it from that kind of foundation. That this is because today, and I'm not really, trying to label any community. There are communities that can never steal. Can never attempt, like my community. Why? Because we had some, funny beliefs there, that you take somebody's things, then something happens and you all die. And people fear dying. So people cannot even attempt. That's why we have grown naturally to be very trustworthy as people. So I want to believe we go back to the...
is wrong?
No. Your community is not wrong. Stop labeling your community. Your community is not wrong. Yeah. And basically, these are facets that we have missed. Actually, is socialization. And even that person who is going astray to steal, I think is just socialization and, parenting, that probably he was never, taken through the right socialization. Probably that's why he has grown, probably that attempt to get rich very quickly. So for me, I believe going back to the roots and addressing the agenda as per our Constitution, Article 11, states that culture is a civilization. If we want people to plant trees, let's talk to people. Let's begin socializing them. And I believe that's why President Moi was very keen with this, conservation agenda, that he streamlined it to schools. And we all grew, knowing that we can do a nursery tree within the school. And I think that is where President Ruto is going back to, because that is what he had begun with this 15 billion. And there's a plan. And basically, you cannot wake up. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. So we are not going to announce 15 billion and the next day we are planting trees without a plan. Where are you taking these trees? We have to plan very well that we have 5 billion fruit trees. We have another 5 billion, timber trees and other, shade trees and other trees, ornamental trees. We have to plan all that and then encourage our own. Let me ask you, why from all these seasons? We know very well the impacts of climate change is all about, the tree cover and all that. And we are depleting it by cutting trees. And we've heard that cut one tree, plant two. Why are we not planting? is a matter that we need to address, and address it through, talking to people, sensitizing people, and also encouraging people. Now we've given 5 billion fruit trees. And we want people like in Ukambani to plant mangoes, to plant, these dragon fruits, to plant these other trees that women use for lipstick. And it's very costly. I mean, it has good returns. We know avocados cannot do in Ukambani. Avocados will do very well in Central Kenya. And that's why we are also emphasizing the Central Kenya also, hike the numbers of avocados so that we can export. And we're looking for that market. So I believe it's a matter of just sensitizing people and putting proper regulations and rules, indeed. Because I was in Korea some time back, going for a training on how Korea developed itself. And one day the president was actually using the railway, and he found people building a bridge, and he had to stop and ask what is happening. They said, we are building. And that's how the government began giving them the cement, the steel, so that they can do. That is a culture issue, where people are out to do their own things. I've worked in this country, and I've seen a gully, expanding with years, and people are there crossing, and they're seeing it. Why can't you just take the small action? You're waiting for government to do this thing for you, even a small, simple thing. We need to take action as Kenyans. We need to be proactive. We need to, love our nation, and we need to synergize even with government. Let's stop looking even upon the NGOs. I've had somebody who is saying we need to ask the NGOs. When is the time that Kenyans will come out and step out and say we can do this thing by ourselves? Because that's how developed nations have done it. Yeah. With taxes that we increased the other day, everybody was quarreling. We need good roads. We need to move out of the mud. But we are quarreling. But these developed countries you see today, Americans had to sacrifice. They were not to rely on other people who would use them like a carrot, control them everywhere. That's how sometimes we expose ourselves as nations. And again, remember, Kenya, I am a minister for East Africa. Kenya is not at the same level with these other countries. We are actually a developing nation. We are not classified like Uganda, and we cannot declare a disaster that quickly because there are standards of a developing country. So we'll be asked whether we want to go back to the third world country. And I believe sometimes we need to pull ourselves and stretch ourselves enough so that, because we have all the machines, we have the defense, we have the interior, and we can mobilize. And a few people like you, Jeff, I know you're also loaded in some area, and you can save lives too. And we come aboard and synergize. So for me, I think it's my call to the Kenyans that we come together and really work together at this time. But yes, I agree that we are going to intensify the sensitization that we need to do this time. We are going to have many people come aboard, like the Minister for Water, to speak about the actions and the plans that we're doing for the dams, the mega dams. And actually, speaking of that, I saw a question, and Kidiki yesterday gave her 48 hours for all the dams in the country, whether private or public, to be inspected by yesterday, within 48 hours. And I believe the 48 hours are over, and we need to have the report streaming. So we're doing every effort that we can. And I really want to thank people like Karua, who have really gone ahead. I've known this man, and he has even branded himself green. You can be sure that we are terrorized here by his green. But he's been doing a very good job. I come from his county, and I remember when I was a deputy governor, he actually called me to his father's ground to plant trees. And I agree with him that people really, you need to show people the way. I agree, and that's why I've done this water. And next I'm doing, actually, that's why I did an Arambi for women, and now we're going to raise, we're going to give more than 300 women water tanks. Good. So that they can also do the water harvesting in their homes.
Madam CS Penina Malonza, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Dr. Isaac Kalua Green, keep going green, brother. Time is up.
Don't worry, we'll save.
Time is up.
The thing is this. We need to support what efforts are being made. It doesn't matter. We must make the hay while the sun shines.
While the sun shines.
The government is here, and when we talk about trees, I like the way she puts it so passionately when she gets to that. Yet, it is the same government, when it comes to food distribution, the ministers are not supposed to distribute in any other place apart from their own counties. That is all I'm saying. Do it the same. Don't do things in different ways. And though we speak while we are out of the government, we need also, or behind the cameras, we should be able to bring it out.
Absolutely.
Example, the president has planted 56 trees.
57.
Now 57 he will be planting. Let every Kenyan go ahead and plant trees equivalent to
you
their
said
age.
that all night.
The president, as we finish, has done chicken product and farming. Somebody like minister, listen, I'm not talking about the president, I'm talking about leadership.
Are you being his PR?
Personalization of what we must be able to do. You keep removing that jacket every day. That's why we love you. We make sure that your partner is here, and when she works like she works, she's gone to CNN.
Yes.
The other person is here. That's because you're doing your your thing.
Trees to breathe.
6 trees
to breathe.
There you go.
The other one.
So, Wangari Maathai, you know what she once said?
Yes.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Oh, yes.
The second best time to plant a tree
is now.
Is now.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you so much.
Disaster it is, let it be declared. We are not making decisions because of our status. It is because of the reality that is on the ground.
Dr. Isaac Green, he's greening all the way. He doesn't want us to go home and sleep. CS, Penina Malonza, we need to go home.